everyone can hear me. Thank you very much. Good evening, members, and welcome back. And can I thank you all for the diligent way that we proceeded with our meeting on Monday evening for our adjournment. And as you know, we are still meeting within a socially distanced environment, and I would encourage members to ensure discussion is focused so that the meeting is not prolonged. As seating in the Mess Hall tonight is restricted, only a limited number of officers have been able to attend. If a member wishes to speak, can you please raise your hand? If members' queries are unable to be answered tonight, officers will come back to you with the requested information. Okay, so we'll go back to agenda item 1, apologies. We have Councillor Pope, I see Councillor Tinsley's here, and Mark Parkinson. Councillor Baxter.
Alderman Rankin, or maybe you should be along at some point, he thinks.
No problem. Councillor Tannelson, Councillor Macklin.
Councillor Hoggy, Councillor McGill, Councillor McNally, Councillor Keaton should be along shortly.
All at the same party. Councillor Larkham.
Apologies for Councillor McAlinden and Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you very much, members. Okay, so we're going to agenda item 2. Can I get a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the council meeting held on the 20th of June 2021 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Councillor Greenfield and Alderman Spears. Thank you. Councillor McLeod.
Yes, Lord Mayor. In terms of the minutes on item C210/2021, it's just a word of thanks to Olga and to Dawn from the Chief Executive staff for the update on the boundary signage. And I certainly understand that because we're working across multiple sites with multiple owners and so on, it is a complex situation. But if it were possible for officers to furnish members with the list of 29 sites, that might be helpful. So that would be a request. A question would be, in terms of the rollout of all of this from this point on, have officers given any consideration as to, if we get approval for 1, 2 or 3 sites, will that happen, or are we waiting until all 29 are approved before we actually roll out on the ground? So that would be a question. And Lord Mayor, thank you for your indulgence. The other question would be, and I see slow road service were mentioned in the email. If it would be helpful that we get a letter from council to road service on this issue, I'm certainly happy to propose. And in conclusion, I certainly hope that as a council and as a corporate body that we are working towards having this job completed by the end of the mandate. So that would just be a comment. If officers want to get back to me at some stage after tonight, that's grand. But thank you, Lord Mayor, for your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Olga, do you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Councillor McClelland, and we'll follow up on the queries that you've raised and come back to you at the start of next week.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Olga. Are we all agreed with the minutes? Yep, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Obviously, we'll go through the norm if anybody wants to declare now or during the meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, agenda item 4, go to committee meeting or committee minutes. 4.1, seek a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee held on the 7th of July 2021 be taken as read and approved as a correct record. Councillor Lavery and Councillor Nicholson. Go ahead, Councillor.
Appreciate you bringing me in here. It's slightly different. It's under the committee minutes, and due to the fact that we have an absence of the Leisure Committee meeting over the summer, could I request that we could revisit that forum where we had been previously to discuss the South Lake Leisure Centre? I've been speaking to a number of other councillors, and I know that I'm not the only one that is receiving a barrage of issues and complaints, and I think we need to have a forum in which we can actually discuss those. And I thought this was the best place to actually come in and ask that under committee minutes. It's just, I think we need to have a good, clear, cross-party, all the different councillors having an opportunity to bring forward all of the issues rather than them coming in from all angles, because I have received 6 complaints today alone of different issues. And I know that I'm not the only councillor, Lord Mayor, that's receiving these. So I think it would be very, very useful for us to have some forum, but we need it, like ASAP. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much, Councillor Tinsley. Roger says he will go in, bring that back. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I'm happy to second that, as with Councillor Tinsley. I've received quite a few complaints today, and there is some stuff circulating on social media today as well. It was a few things I raised with Mark, and I appreciate he's on leave now on Monday night. But there is a few things I think around the table discussion, even a one-off meeting to see where we're going to move forward. But I think it needs to be done or organised as a matter of urgency, because there seems to be a few issues. And there probably is reasonable explanations to do with COVID and all that, but I think we need to thrash those out, because as elected representatives, and we're getting a barrage at the minute, especially this last week or so. So I'm happy to second what Councillor Tinsley has proposed tonight.
Right, thanks, Councillor Baxter. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I suppose just to say as well, people are always going to be quick to lift the phone to complain. So it's not a reflection on how the centre is doing on the whole. The centre is a credit to the staff, and councillors will totally agree with that. But people lift the phone when they're frustrated or annoyed, and they're lifting the phone to us. I would go a step further and even look for a working group around the South Lake Leisure Centre. I think perhaps in my mind the board was stood down just a wee bit too early. And I feel that DEA members in particular, because I feel that the traffic comes to us mainly, it would be helpful. It would not be a decision-making body, more a forum that meets regular, because what's going to happen inevitably is the same people that are phoning Councillor Tinsley are phoning, the same issues are coming to me, and then we're phoning officers separately, and that's a waste of officer time as well, because they're having to explain the same thing over and over and over. So I actually would propose, until the centre has settled, and I mean, we could be looking at a year, that we do actually consider a working group for DEA members, and willing for other members to jump into that if necessary, that's regular, and therefore issues can be raised. And as Councillor Baxter pointed out, there's information on social media there as well. It's not accurate, and it's not a fair reflection on the centre as well. So it could probably tackle some of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Lorgan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I'd like to come in on behalf of the SDLP and second Councillor Nelson's proposal in relation to a working group.
Okay. Do you have any other comments? Councillor Baxter.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I am happy with that. I suppose maybe slightly different, and Councillor Nelson might agree with me. In terms of the DEA members, understand why that would be, because they'll probably get the bulk of them, but it's a fact we had pairs from right across, and the complaints I'm getting aren't from central members, they're from members in my DEA. That's why we brought it tonight. So I think it should be open to all members, whether they want to come or not, I suppose. Different. But.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter. I'm going to bring in Roger. Thank you, Lord Mayor. if members would be happy that I can maybe try and go away, I understand there's an urgency around this, but trying to get a working group set up, we can see some of the complications around which members. We do have an arrangement in place as to how many members from each party and all. So if members would be happy that I can take this away very, very quickly and come back with something, talk it through party leaders to try and help you address those issues. One of the things we are trying to do is reduce the number of working groups rather than increase them, and we have just stood this working group down, or the committee down, but equally there's a need for a forum based on what members are saying. So if you would be happy, members, I will do something very quickly and work through party leaders and the chair of Leisure Committee and come back with hopefully something that can accommodate what you need. Happy enough, members? See everybody shaking their head, yes? Yes. Thank you very much, members. We'll move on. We've all agreed with 4.1? Yep. Thank you. Agenda item 5, Chief Executive Report, 5.1, which is the approval of the letter of offer from the Northern Ireland Museums Council. I'm going to bring in Brian.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening, members. So this report relates to the request is for approval of letter of offer from Northern Ireland Museums Council, and the recommendation before members is it is recommended that members accept the letter of offer from Northern Ireland Museums Council for funding to purchase 2 collages for Armagh County Museum collection. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to propose. Thank you.
And second by Alderman Spears. Any other comments? All agreed? Thank you, members. 5.2, Dear consultation on the introduction of the additional animal welfare protections for service animals in Northern Ireland, known as Finn's Law, which incidentally is my dad's dog. Its name. So, do we have any queries? Councillor Savage.
Happy to propose, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Savage. Anybody else? Councillor Lovely, second. Any comments? All agreed? Or sorry, Alderman Spears, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, Lord Mayor, I just want to make a slightly different point on in relation to this, and it's maybe a public health or indeed a wider issue in relation to a new European regulation which now have decided that the residue of dead animals can be again introduced to the animal food chain. And I know the effects that is likely to have on, we know the history of BSE, and when in fact all that happened way back all those years ago. Since then, any residue from dead animals would not have been used in animal food, and this is going to have a very much added complication. We speak about Brexit, but allegedly such will be available south of the border, and the regulation is not rolled out, as I understand it, in UK as yet. So I pose the question through our Chief Executive, to our public health officials, to further investigate this matter, the ramifications for, number one, the food chain, the ramification for the manufacturing of animal food, and indeed, more importantly, the food that we all eat. I think there is major ramifications here that have yet been uncovered and not talked about. I think it's quite serious, and it could have serious implications for our food chain and the animal slaughter process and whatever. So I'd ask for a full report to be brought back at a future meeting of Council. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Alderman Spears. Members, to your right at the end of the table is Elizabeth Rainey. Some of you may not have met her yet. Elizabeth, do you want to say a few words on the report?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The proposed changes will make it much more straightforward in this DAERA consultation for officers, animal welfare officers, to deal with offences by amending the Animal Welfare Act. The paper outlines what service animals in Northern Ireland includes, and the consultation considers all service dogs in PSNI Northern Ireland Prison Service and those in the airport, military and military police and harbour, as well as search dogs when they're used by the police for those purposes. The consultation, you will note, also gives some sort of a safeguard when service dogs are not under the full control of the handler, and it sets out penalties for 5 years imprisonment as a maximum penalty or greater. The consultation closes on the 11th of August, and the recommendation is that members approve the draft corporate response in Appendix 3 on the introduction of these additional welfare protections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We have a proposer and seconder. Do we have any comments to be made? All agreed? Thank you very much, members. And thank you very much, Elizabeth. 5.3, NILGA Regional Programme for Councillor Development 2021-2022, and we're going to bring in Sean.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Members, this report is to bring to your attention the NILGA Regional Programme for Councillor Development for 2021-22. There's two elements of the programme. One relates to planning and the other is an accredited leadership programme. The Planning Committee already considered the planning elements. This report is to seek approval for councillors to participate in the accredited leadership programme should they wish to do so, and if they do so, to contact Democratic Services to that end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Councillor Lavery.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Just to declare an interest as a member of NILGA. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think all members of NILGA will be duly noted. Do we have any other comments to be made? Can I get a proposer and seconder? Proposed by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Nicholson. All agreed? Thank you very much, members. 5.4 is an item for information, external funding letters of offer. I'm going to bring in Brian Johnson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The report before members is just an update in terms of letters of offer that were received, short turnaround time in terms of applications just at the start of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Move on to item 6 on the agenda, schedule of correspondence, 6.1 to 6.5. Happy to note. Thank you very much, members. Item 7 on the agenda, schedule of documents requiring corporate seal, 7.1 to 7.3. Can I get a proposer and seconder to take these on block? Alderman Anderson, Alderman Kennedy. All agreed? Thank you. Okay, members, we're going into confidential business. We're going into committee. Can I seek a proposer and seconder to go into committee? Alderman Burns and second by Councillor McClelland. Members and listeners to the audio feed, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we'll be turning off the public audio feed at the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ACT officers to please turn off the audio feed and confirm with me that the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? Councillor McKinstry. Thank you very much. Item 10 on the agenda, any other relevant business? We have 2 items. And we're going to Councillor Flaherty and the Northern Ireland Children's Funeral Fund.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for allowing me to bring this to members again. Some may remember when I first brought this. So for those who don't, just a bit of background. The Welsh Government announced a Memorandum of Understanding regarding a children's funeral fund in November 2017. Scotland, they did similar on the 30th of May 2018. Martin's Fund, as it's called in England, after the MP Caroline Harris's son, it was implemented fully in England in July 2019. Of course, still, I cannot refer to Northern Ireland. We are still the only part of the UK where the cost of a burial of a child under 18 will not be covered by a children's funeral fund. Don't get me wrong, members, I feel very, very proud that this chamber has always supported me with this from when I first brought this issue to members back in April of 2018. I feel very proud that we were the first council in Northern Ireland to waive burial fees. The rest swiftly followed suit. They did so because it is a good thing to do, and they did so because it is the right thing to do. From the 1st of June 2018, when the scheme started here in ABC Council, the second biggest council in Northern Ireland, as we know, 1,077 burials of those under 18 took place. This mitigation amounted to a council spend of around £3,500. That breakdown is available to all members. There's only one cemetery didn't report, but they had an idea of what it would be. I'm not going to linger on statistics because they all refer to a grieving and heartbroken family who we must remember at all times in these discussions. I have expressed previously on many occasions in this chamber that it is only within our gift to implement this scheme in council-owned cemeteries. We as a council can only take this so far. We know still that it is, however, within the gift of a minister to sign this fund off in Stormont. This time, as I raise it again, and thank you for allowing me to do so, we this time do have a minister in Stormont. Much to my disgrace, I still have been unable to get to a point where I get a yes. This is despite it being noted in New Decade, New Approach. I am utterly appalled at this stagnation, members. Instead, I am now receiving the same response I did when we had no ministers, with one slight difference, members. They are now using the fact that council have their own mitigation schemes in place. In my view, that is entirely unfair. Just for information, the last bid for support for this funding amounted to 200,000 for the whole of the province. That was turned down. We see at long last consultations launched on parental bereavement leave, and just yesterday the consultation on changing places toilet legislation. Wonderful. But with this we have silence. What we have done in council was only ever a stopgap. It was a sense of intention, if you will, members, and now it is being used to disguise inaction. July is annually recognised as Bereaved Parents Awareness Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness of the support necessary when one endures the loss of a child. Therefore, I bring this to your attention yet again, members. This time I need your support again, every one of you. Considering we were the first council in Northern Ireland to implement a form of mitigation by way of waiving grave opening fees, I feel it is vitally important that this council agrees the Chief Executive writes this time to the Minister for Communities and the Minister of Finance, pointing out how we have reacted as a council. And as I said, I'm very proud of all our officers and staff who have to implement this and deal so sensitively with these families. I want highlighted the shameful deficit and again ask for full implementation here in Northern Ireland. It has been said to me on occasion that I perhaps use my grief and what we went through as a family, or maybe that I should move on. I will never move on, nor do I want to. I ask for help with these things because this is my experience and this is the life that I lead. Everything I do for him and I do for all the other little Jakes. Thank you, members, and I ask for your support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flaherty. I'm more than happy to second your proposal. It's been selflessly commitment on this here, and you're driving with it with passion that we see here tonight. Members, do we have any other speakers on the matter? Well, thank you very much. Chief Executive will write off to the Minister. We move on to the second item, as Councillor Lavery, with the Borough-wide study and reference local farmers, markets and public spaces in local towns.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm just raising this query on behalf of Councillor Pope. It's important we support the recovery of our town centres, including the investigation of local or farm markets in our plazas or public realm areas across the Borough, as these can provide a boost and increase footfall, in particular in our rural towns. I therefore request that council officers undertake some research into the viability of local or farmers markets in our towns across our Borough and bring back a report. And indeed, I think it was the plan of officers to look at a Borough-wide market strategy, which unfortunately hasn't happened due to the delays around COVID. So if that could be brought forward, and it is worth noting that this would not have any financial implications, all in officers' time, but I think it's certainly something we should progress, in particular in our rural towns, likes of Tandragee and Raffir Island and so on. So if that could be maybe progressed by officers, that would be great, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Macaulay.
Yes, Lord Mayor. I'm happy enough to second that proposal and really just endorse everything Councillor has already said. I think particularly in our rural towns and villages, it gives people the opportunity to put forward maybe proposals like a small market or farmers market to increase footfall. So I think looking into that will do no harm. So I'm happy enough to second that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Anybody else want to make a comment? Councillor Nicholson, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Lord Mayor. And yeah, the proposal, no issue with the proposal at all. However, I just want to point out a couple of things. First thing is, there is an agriculture strategy being at the moment within this council, and an agri-food strategy. So I do think that, you know, there was a first section was to the farming community, and I suppose it's what is a farmer's market? You know, it has to be led by the farmers. It can't just be like some guy running down to Belfast and buying a load of vegetables and bringing it into our local towns and setting up shop in competition with our vegetable shops in our towns and villages who are paying rates and paying rent and employing local people. So look, there needs to be a real study in this, and I know that it's been referred to that there was a study to be done through Economic Development and the Regeneration Department, and it was, I think Therese was leading on it, and it didn't really go anywhere. So Olga, I would task you in relation to, I know Nicola is the new officer in charge of markets. I think there does need to be a real hard look at this. It's easy going for a soundbite and saying it's a great idea, and it is, don't get me wrong, but it needs to be buy-in right across the board, because as I said to you, if it is becoming a competition to our local shops, that's not going to help our local shops recover after COVID. So that's the only point I want to make, Lord Mayor, but I'm happy enough with the proposal. I think it was like, but I just wanted to bring that to the attention of officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholson. Councillor Savage and Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, just I'd agree with the sentiments, the whole thing, but markets, there was a survey done in one of the towns, and I think it was close to 70% didn't want a market. So then, but it's this definition of a farmer's market, as what Councillor Nicholson has highlighted here too. And that's what we need to be careful to. I think the oldest market in the UK is Bath in England, so it is. And that is connecting into artisan foods and all. We have a lot of artisan foods within our area. We have a private group that is doing a food market every month now, so they have within the area, which is to be commended. But markets have to complement the existing businesses, not compete with the existing businesses that's in the area. That's what we need to be doing, and we need to be looking at that. It has to be a careful study that is done, because we need to be supporting the farming community, as we know, and as Councillor Nicholson has alluded to, the surveys that are out at the moment, that the farmers one has completed, the agri-food one has been done, and there's no point trying to grab a headline in the local paper about shouting about a farmer's market whenever you haven't done the homework on the whole thing. And I think that's what we need to be doing here, and I suppose the right place for that is taking it back into Economic Development Committee, and the report been done there. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Go ahead. Do you want to speak, Olga? Are you happy enough?
No, it's just that I'll take forward the action.
No problem. No problem. Councillor Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would, I've no problem with officers going away and doing work on it, but I would totally concur with Councillor Nicholson and Savage in relation to, it must complement the towns, especially the rural towns, because frankly, the rural towns are the ones that have suffered the most. And I wouldn't like to be standing in some of our rural towns when somebody would come up with their stalls, when the local butcher, the local vegetable shop, and all of those different shops that have provided food even during COVID and delivery services, to find that we're paying our rent and our rates, and then a farmer's market appears, and the farmer mightn't even be local, he could be 30, 40 miles away. That goes to all of these things during the weeks. So I think, as Councillor Savage says, whatever we go to do, it must complement that and complement our towns. And I think we need to work with the ABC Business Alliance and work with the local town centre groups that are there, so that it's a unified approach, that it's not just our council have decided that we're going to throw a market into a rural town. Hey, this looks brilliant, we're supporting our local farmers. The local farmers' meats in the butcher shop and the vegetables and everything that's there is being provided locally. Our biggest problem is when the banks close and the offices that are currently closed because of COVID, there's less footfall. So maybe the economic department, and I know they're looking at that, we need to look to see how we get footfall. I don't believe this is the way to do it, but let the officers go away and look into it. But I think there's other innovative approaches that we should be adopting to help our town centres from this, because we are getting our local veg, we are getting our local meat in our town centres at the minute, and it doesn't take a stall to do that. But those people are paying rent and rates every day of their lives.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Alderman Spears, go ahead.
Lord Mayor, just I want to support what has been already said by some of my colleagues in relation to this. Some background information is always useful in these things in terms of markets, and there's some markets that are historic and there's a relatively small charge. They're under an old charter and they provide an opportunity, but it can be an uneconomic opportunity in the real world of competition. The fact that a market stallholder is maybe not paying rates anywhere and is a competitor against the ratepayers within our towns or rural towns or main towns, I think is a key issue. And it's something that before we embark on a policy that is to some extent currently not thought out, I think we do need all the facts, all the relevant information as to how we progress a policy in terms of farmers' markets, or indeed markets generally. Now, I'm not sure where we are currently with the whole market strategy. Let it be, I remember in Legacy Armagh Council we had the market and we had an officer to promote the market. I'm not sure whether that's happening now or not, but it's all part of this equation that we need to study. And just as we were debating this, someone mentioned banks, and may I say that we, as a council again, express a very, very strong view in relation to the closure or proposed closure of more banks within our district. I want to say to you, if the proposals from AIB or First Trust go through, County Armagh will not have a First Trust bank. So I say to the banks, if they're going to close one bank in Lurgan or Portadown or Armagh, why not close them all? Because they're really becoming irrelevant. They're really becoming irrelevant to the community, and they are alleged to be a community service, but yet in all, they're abandoning the community. They are abandoning the community. And I mean, to think of this county, County Armagh, not having one First Trust bank. Now, when are we going to have that there's no Danske Bank in County Armagh? When are we going to have that there's no Bank of Ireland in County Armagh? So we need to be asking ourselves major questions, and we need to be asking the banks major questions in terms of regenerating within rural areas. And I would suggest through you, Lord Mayor, that we, through the Chief Executive, asked the banks, and there is a national organisation of them that allegedly represent them all, and I think they have a duty to explain to the community that they allegedly support, allegedly represent, as to how they hope to engage with the community in terms of providing a facility. If I want to lodge money now as a First Trust customer, I have to drive to Dungannon or I have to drive to Newry or somewhere else. I can't do it in County Armagh. They've closed Armagh, they've closed Portadown, and now the proposal is to close Lurgan. Scandalous. It couldn't happen anywhere else, and it's happening under our nose, and it's denuding rural communities, particularly of a service that is very, very much needed. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Alderman Spears. I know that they closed Banbridge only a couple of years ago, and it's a big hurt to the town as well. Are we all agreed with the proposal? Sorry, Councillor McClellan, go ahead.
Yes, Lord Mayor, thank you for letting me in on this one. And yeah, certainly in terms of the farmers markets, happy to support the concept of them being well thought out. A wee bit like I think it was Councillor Barry and perhaps Councillor Nicholson said, because we don't want them taken away from the traders that are there, and we only have to think of some of the feedback in terms of the Christmas markets, and that's always an issue in terms of the traders within our towns. Lord Mayor, I'll finish by saying this, in terms of us as a supporter of the farming sector and the wider agri-food sector, it's perhaps a little bit ironic, some of the comments of support that we're hearing this evening, given that we had an opportunity last month in terms of the climate change bill, which will absolutely sort of devastate our primary production sector. But anyway, I'll say no more about that, but certainly in terms of the farmers market, happy to support well thought out. Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I think your motion passed. Alderman Spears, I was talking to the Chief Executive there, and he's going to write off to the right people about the banks. We all agreed with. Yeah, that'll be included, okay. We all agreed with the proposal? Yeah. Thank you very much, members. Members, thank you very much for going easy on me tonight. It was a lot easier than last time. Hopefully, if you're going on any holidays or anything like that there, you can stay safe and enjoy the rest of your holidays. Thank you very much and stay safe home.